future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
And greetings and salutations, everyone. You are tuned in to Dr. Judy, WTF, and I'm your host, Walt Lusk. And in studio, as usual, is Dr. Judy Rosenberg, the infamous creator of the mind map. And today we're going to continue our show from last week with who I'm calling Nick at Night. He has a wife who is a borderline and has issues. And this is a call-in show normally, but today we have a caller. It's the caller. And later in the show, we're going to shrink our tune, which is a fun little song related to the show today. And you can catch us if you miss us on Stitcher. And we've had some issues. The studio has had issues with iTunes last month, actually. So they're going to be popped on. And, of course, you can go to ubnradio.com here at the studio here in the heart of Hollywood at the infamous Sunset Gower Studios. And if you have a query, question, comment, or concern, or a request for a show, or want some information about the show, or a song you want to shrink, you can reach us at info at drjudywtf.com. And, of course, those of you that are new, we thank you so much for listening and watching. And WTF stands for What the Freud. So now you're in the know. Now you're in the know.
So I want to start by thanking our international crowd. We are having quite an expansive audience, and all the way from
we've got UK and Australia lately.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And that's been very, very exciting for me because I get the sense that people of all cultures are tuning in, and the intention of the mind map is to be inclusionary so that I could create a system for healing human disconnect that's inclusionary of everyone. And a little bit of a background on the mind map. It started as a global project meant to heal global disconnect, which we will expound upon in the near future. But instead of globality, I decided to micro it down to healing human disconnect, healing specifically mother-infant disconnect, father-infant disconnect, and whatever reverberates out of that. So just a little more about the mind map, if you don't mind putting it up there.
And those of you listening, you can actually go to www.drjudywtf.com and check it out. It's a 9-panel system.
It's a 9-panel system. It's a from, through, to model based on the creation of the problem, which starts with the wounds of childhood and our reactions to them, and then how we encode them into the fiber of our being, which is basically where our self-esteem gets hit. And when it gets hit, what happens is that panels 4, 5, 6 happen. So that part is the dismantling of the
meat
problem.
Of the issue.
Right, or how it dismantles us. So when we get triggered in our core beliefs like I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not lovable enough, we then start decompensating into chaos. And then we erect defense mechanisms because nobody likes to be in confusion and chaos. And ultimately, we break down, or we break other people down, or a combination of both. So the essence of the mind map is to heal the wounds of childhood, regroup on them, and express the repress behind the feelings of pain, and reconfigure so that people can paradigm shift out of the old blueprint of hurt and pain and dysfunction, and into a blueprint of health and healing and functionality. So that is the mind map.
It's a very, very effective and a very, very efficient system. One, we as humans, I've learned, we love a track, a system to follow. And that is what this system is, as opposed to other therapists who just kind of, ramble on or meander and try and find the challenge. It's very effective. And the one thing I've really enjoyed about Judy is she really takes the client's temperature. How are you doing? Where are you? What level are you at? Which a lot of therapists don't want to know because they really don't know how good a job they are not doing. And,
and you know, there is a lot of good work out there.
There is.
There really is.
I'm not anti-therapist or anti-therapy. It's just that some therapists are better than others. And the real goal here is to heal human disconnect. I mean, our thing is that we as humans are disconnected more than ever, not only from our family, our spouse, our lover, our children, our coworkers, but from ourself. And there's more division, there's what Judy calls isms, between individuals, between nations, between races, between politics, whatever you want to pick your division on. It really is contra to the main thing that we're all trying to find and seek, which Judy alluded to, is a universal and unconditional love.
And there's something that I want everyone who's listening to check out is a book that I wrote called Lucid Darkness. And Lucid Darkness is on my website.
It's on Judy's website, and you can link. It's linked to drjudywtf.com. It's on Amazon and soon to be on Barnes & Noble.
Thank you with your assistance. It's $4.99, very affordable. That's $4.99, not $499. And it's a Kindle-ready kind of thing. And the essence of a book is it's about a psychologist, a.k.a. me, who creates a mind map to heal human disconnect. And as a result of her efforts, she's invited into Gaza City to try to heal the rift between the tension, and then everything turns to chaos. And there's a message in the book. It's right up front, and you can read it because you get
a free
copy of the first few pages of the book.
It's a great
read. So check it out, and really it's the macro version of what I'm talking about. So now going back to the micro version, why are we so disconnected? We're disconnected from a very clear model of why this is happening because we don't have secure attachment. Failure to parent in a way that creates eye contact, skin contact, breastfeeding, containment, meaning that the baby is attuned to and cared for in a way that puts baby first, not mothers first or fathers first. We're losing our family. We're losing the what I call the pillars, the mother-father team, or the dyad. And when children don't have the foundational, then they don't feel that they can really be in a safe world. And as a result of this, we have what then is created called symptoms. Okay, symptoms: depression, anxiety, reactions to old wounds that are now being triggered by people around. And so tonight, what we're going to be seeing is how the wounds of the borderline personality are created, and how Nick has experienced living with a borderline.
Well, I can give you a quick definition here of the borderline. It's
Thank
for
you.
readers who are not familiar with the disorder, borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is a sort of jack of all trades of personality dysfunction. People who have this diagnosis show gross disturbances in their ability to control their emotions, in their extremely chaotic interpersonal relationships, and their impulse control and their attempts to understand who or what they want to be in life.
Right. There's a lack of ability to really have a sense of self.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And so therefore the boundaries are really loose, and when they're threatened with abandonment, they may even threaten suicide, and living with them is very painful. And for those of you out there that feel that you have this particular diagnosis, personality disorder, it's really, really important to do the core work. And remember, it's not your fault. You are not the cause of part one of your life, but you are the cause of healing the wounds of part one of your life, which is what I do with my patients. And do we have a caller?
We do. And one of the last things I want to say is about the borderline, it's so confusing, is I need you, but I hate you. Would that be true, Nick?
Yes, sir. Walt, how are you, sir? How are you, Dr. Judy?
I'm doing great. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We were just talking a little bit about the pains and privileges of what you're going through and dealing with someone with a personality bipolar personality disorder. So borderline personality disorder. I keep thinking bipolar.
Which also
Borderline.
sometimes looks a little
Yeah,
bipolar because the moods swing around so much.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I know that you've been doing a lot of work to try to heal and to really care for yourself. And tell me about how that's going for you.
Well, Dr. Judy, I'll tell you what. I have really, as we discussed last week, it kind of when you hit rock bottom, it's like, all right, now it's time,
Yeah.
And I have just hit the ground running. I mean, just reading books and
Wow.
on codependency and borderline and all these things about, stuff on how to improve my self-worth and how to say no. And it's been great, Dr. Judy. It's just, I'm gaining so much power and knowledge just by reading and educating myself.
I'm so
And
impressed because you're
great,
certainly
yeah.
not taking this lying down, and you're a young man. And as you said to me several times, look, I'm a young person. I have my whole life ahead of me, and I'm going to get this straight right now, so I don't have to repeat this in the future. Yeah.
And I know you've
Yeah,
had
Dr.
quite an
Judy,
education
that's-
listening to some of our old shows. Thank you very much. And you found us through your gallivantings, and we appreciate that as well. So thanks for being
yes,
part
sir.
of the show.
Well, actually, just today I was listening. I listened to both programs about the narcissistic mother from last August,
Oh, yes.
and that was a very good program, and I can really relate to. It really related to my situation. Dr. Judy, one thing I remember we were on email discussing how about 6 months ago I hit rock bottom, and Dr. Judy, here's the thing that really caused me to hit rock bottom after I really thought about it and after all my reading is just the guilt I felt because, I promised this person, I mean, the words came out of my mouth, I'll always be here for you.
Yes.
I'll always be there for you.
Yes.
And because those words did come out of my mouth and
Right.
I'm not one to ever go back on something like that,
Right.
And this is like, for example, I was born in this country. I was born in the United States. Had I met a woman who was also from the United States, I don't think I'd have as much of a hard time breaking up with her. But a woman who left her country for me, left her family for me, it adds the guilt, Dr. Judy?
Of course. And here's what I want to say about this. First of all, yes, those words did come out of your mouth, but there reaches a point where you're no good for anyone when you experience such a level of distress living with a human being who's causing so much distress. And the key factor is it's not that you're wanting to abandon this human being, it's that you've asked her several times to get help and she won't get help. And I think that's the difference. When someone says to another human being, look, who you are being, how you are being is hurting me, and they don't take that seriously and say, wow, let me introspect, let me self-reflect a little bit and get another opinion here. And maybe you have a point, and maybe I'll look at myself. But it's very hard for this particular personality disorder to look at themselves because then they have to accept responsibility. They have to deal with all kinds of negative feelings. They have to deal with all kinds of pains and hurts of how this whole thing was created. And frankly, they just would rather project it all on their significant others. So it's not like you're just checking out from this relationship. You have asked her, haven't you, several times?
Oh, yes, Dr. Again, like I said last week, if there was some magic wand where I could just remove her from her family dynamic, mom and all that, that would be such a big help. But that's impossible. If I even brought that up, she'd get mad at me. It's not even realistic to expect her to never talk to her mother again.
Okay.
And anytime if I even bring it up, she'll ask her mom, and mom will say, "Oh no, he doesn't know what he's talking about," Listen
Right.
to me because he doesn't know. And then,
Right.
of course, she believes mom because mom's always been the perfect one, right?
So this is an
know.
ugly collusion between mother and daughter. It's a codependent relationship, and it's not obviously serving the dynamics of your marriage.
It's not.
And
It's not.
she's so codependent that she's choosing her mother over her husband. Psychologically, she's choosing that, and so that in essence, she's being a daughter but not a wife. So in some sense, you don't really have a wife by your side. And one of the things that I was thinking about is that it may be the case that when you start withdrawing from her and start backing away, that she may hit bottom. And that might be a good thing for her, because I'm not talking about bottom, suicide bottom, because they will threaten that, but bottom in the sense where she'll break down and say, wow, I'm about to lose this amazing husband who's been there for me, who could be there for me, except that I'm choosing my mother. I'm choosing to not look at myself. And maybe when she bottoms out, maybe you guys will have some kind of a chance there. But that would be the only situation that I could see right now where this thing can turn around.
Because
So,
right now it's outnumbered. It's you against the two of them, and,
Right.
and no matter how you look at it, no matter how it's sliced, it's 2 against 1, and it's not a fair odds. They're certainly not in your
No,
favor.
no.
Yeah, totally.
And here's it. And Dr. Judy, I mean, I don't mean to sound rough, but maybe I have to sound kind of rough with what I'm about to say, and that is, I brought her here. I'm her sponsor. She's not a U.S. citizen. She's
I
just
see.
here on a temporary green card.
okay.
I have the control. Everything is in my hands. I can easily make it so that she goes back and can never come back here again. I can be that cold. I haven't done that yet, but I could be, Dr. Judy. And I think it's almost come down to, I think I'm just going to say, look, if you're not going to do what it takes to make this work, then you leave me with no choice but to do something very cold.
Well, it's interesting because borderlines hate boundaries, but they love boundaries in the sense that they need boundaries.
Yes,
They don't love
and
them,
that's-
but
and
they
that's
need them.
Exactly what I was thinking. You're not
Right.
giving her a threat. You're saying, hey, this has got to the point where there needs to be some boundaries. Otherwise, there aren't any, and why bother?
And I want to talk about
Exactly.
a very, very, right, exactly, Walt. And so I want to talk about a very, very important concept that I teach my patients, and that's the concept of intention. Okay? Everything starts with consciousness, with intention. If you look at panel 1, it also represents the light and the darkness. So if you come from a light intention, meaning of the light, of a higher level intention, versus a darker intention. So here's an example. When you set those boundaries, are you coming from the intention of hurting her and being controlling and being a nasty human being? Or are you coming from the intention of self-preservation, helping her hit bottom, helping her to wake up and helping her to see the light? And only by knowing what your intention is can you then be more directional, because you can actually paradigm shift into a more high level intention, and through doing so you affect the outcome and you become the cause of the outcome of your life, of her life, of the people that are involved, just because you are coming from a pure intention, wanting to correct the system. Does that make sense to you?
Completely. I completely understand what you're saying.
Because
Okay.
ultimately what you're after is the best for her. Now, that hopefully you're in the equation, but if not, you still want the best for her. You're not trying to be
Sure.
controlling. You're not trying to be vindictive. It's ultimately, as much as the ends justifies the means, but you want the best.
And this is not a war,
No,
right? This is not a war. And when I'm up against some major personality disorders and some major symptoms in my office, when I do therapy, I need to make it clear to my patients that I'm not being hard on them. I'm being hard on their pathology. Okay? And so if you come from the intention of not being hard on her, but you're being hard on the dysfunction, and you're drawing a boundary there, and you really need to set your intention very, very clearly straight within yourself, because what I find is that when our intention isn't coming from that light space, we end up in chaos, defense mechanisms, and breakdowns. So it serves no one. If you go into the mindset of I hate this woman, I'm vindictive, I'm just sick of her, I'm going to punish her, I'm going to send her back to India and let her rot in hell. That kind of intention will ultimately not do you, especially you, any good, because the guilt that you're going to suffer, the shame that you're going to suffer, the self-blame you're going to suffer is going to cost you anyway. So I think that you have to be, even when you're doing something that seems cold and boundaried like that, you still have to come from that place in your heart that's clear and empathic and firm. Not that you have to be wishy-washy.
Right. No, I agree, Dr. Judy. And I'm definitely going to, go that route. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling, Dr. Judy, based on the history, that it's just going to kind of come down to her again, going back to mom and her colluding and making things worse. I have a feeling. Now again, I'm going to do the right thing.
On it. I'll bet you just keep doing the right thing, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Unfortunately,
what that will do is prove your point. Right? Who you're leaving and who you're cleaving. If you haven't left your mom and cleaved to me, then you're leaving me to go cleave to mom. They're mutually exclusive. You can't have it both ways. It's one way or the other. Right.
And at that point, when that happens, which it most likely will, then I will just have to just end it and go on and finally live an emotionally healthy life, Dr. Judy.
Okay, so let's talk about if you do have to end it, because for those of people who have to extricate themselves from these kinds of relationships, then there's a more ethical way to do it. And I'm not God, I don't claim to have all the answers, but let's say that and let's say that you do know that she may threaten suicide, she may be in danger to herself. And so how you want to do it needs to be really, really done in a very considered fashion. It has to be done in a way where she is as contained as possible, which is really hard to do. And I suggest that if you do pull the plug, you do it in a timely way where maybe her mother's around or her family's around or friends are around, and there's kind of an exit plan so that she does not go into such a dark place herself that she does some self-harm. Have you thought about how you might want to exit this situation? Do you have a plan?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, because at the moment she's there for another month and a half with family,
Well, that's a long time to start with. Yeah. I mean, how long? You guys have been married for under 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, wow. Walt, I mean, I was just...
Wow.
We can't, she and I can't even begin to have a normal relationship. It's just.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, all right.
Bizarre.
You've given me some ideas. She's in India. She's with her family. If truly you have decided that you cannot go further, then maybe she needs the containment of her family and her community to survive this breakup. And so I would get some input from maybe people in your, do you go to any kind of place of worship?
Yeah, Hindu. We're Hindu, so Hindu temple, yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can get some advice from one of the monks there, and just some wisdom masters about how to do this in a compassionate way. And maybe if you know anybody that's close to her that can protect her during this time. You just have to do it very, very responsibly. And if you are going to break up with her when she's in town, then you have to be on a suicide watch with this woman. You might have to be dialing 911 and calling the PET team and putting her on a 48 or 72 hour hold. And, that gets really, really very stressful for everybody. So just think about this carefully. And I want to now go in another direction with you, since you so kindly volunteered to maybe look inward now and ask yourself, so what is it about you and your injuries? And what is it that you feel has been directly or indirectly related to your choice of these kinds of women? Because she's not the only borderline personality disorder relationship you've been into.
You can think about that for just real quick, Nick. We're going to do. You're listening to Dr. Judy WTF, which is What the Freud, here on Universal Broadcasting Network, ubnradio.com. I'm your host, Walt Lusk, and of course, we're talking to. I'm calling Nick at night. He's got an issue that we're on our second episode on, and you can pull us on Stitcher for podcasts as well as iTunes. That'll be updated soon. And any queries, questions, comments, concerns, or requests for a song we're going to shrink, which will be soon, you can write us at info@drjudywf.com.
So you know a little bit about the mind map, and thank you, Walt, for that. Very much appreciate the contact information. So I want to mind map you, if you will, and let's go right down to it and go to panel 1, the wounds. So let me ask you the key questions. Were you breastfed? Was your mother emotionally available? Was she a narcissistic mother? Did you have a father who was there for you and nurturing your mother? Were you an incubator baby? Was your mother emotionally nurturing, and was it safe? Did you have any history of sexual, physical, emotional abuse? So I've now asked many of the questions. So do any of these things relate to you? Can you look now into the hole in your soul and see what's there and what's attracting this pattern?
Well, Dr. Judy, so nothing sexual, no abuse like that. I was born normal, breastfed, everything. It really comes down to, Dr. Judy, Dad is very, very narcissistic.
Dad?
Unavailable, completely unavailable.
Okay.
Mom came from India, so it's a new country for her, all alone, became very depressed without her family, and very narcissistic husband, as I said, unavailable.
Okay.
And she became very depressed. She just couldn't give me what I needed emotionally as a child, and of course Dad was unavailable, so then there I was.
Okay, so here's an example of the nurturer, who's your mother, in a depression, and as much as she wants to be loving and there, when we are in a depression, it's hard for us to be emotionally available, and that's what an infant needs, is emotional availability. So being raised by a depressed mother is kind of like being raised by an emotionally unavailable mother on many levels. Okay, so can you see how that would punch a hole in your soul right there?
No doubt, yes.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, now we've got another element here, because one of the things that I teach is systems thinking, and a family is a system, as you know. And so when father's narcissistic and he's not nurturing your mother, then she doesn't have anybody to really feed her and nourish her, and so she needs this support. He's not there, and so her depression gets worse. And after birth, women, as you must know, some women fall into postpartum depression, and this whole situation is exacerbated by a husband that's not present to be there for her. So can you see how this entire system is now not really supporting you at all?
Yes, Dr. Judy, and when I became a teenager, like 15, 16, I used to feel so... I don't know what the word is, just I used to feel so empty, when I was a teenager. I used to feel really, really empty. And then when I got to be like 17, 18, when I met, like, I guess the first significant female in my life, it would be so great for like a month, and then disaster, and then that would go on for a while, and then the next woman, and the next woman, and like we spoke last week, it's just one crazy lady after another. Just
right. But
and I'm just
But for the first part of the relationship, it does feel like you're needed and wanted, doesn't it? Correct?
Well, because I'm so loved. I mean, and well, now I know when a woman says to me, "I love you" on the second day she ever met me, that's a red flag. I do understand that now.
Okay,
But
so that's
when
I
when I,
need you.
yeah,
I
Hello.
need you. Hello, I need you.
but when
Right.
Hello.
but when I was 18 and when I was 21, "I love you" felt wonderful.
Well, because there was the hole
Yeah.
and that wasn't filled. And so when you heard I love you, the medicine, the salve went right in. It's like, wow, finally I'm getting what I'm needing, except that it wasn't I love you. It was I need you. And so when a person is needing another person, what do you think? Do you think that they're unconditionally loving? Do you think that they're able to be there for you? What's your sense of it? You've lived it, you know.
No, not at all, not at all. And what would happen, Dr. Judy, is the "I need you" is just like when Mom needed me, and that's why I couldn't. That's why I felt so guilty letting the woman go, because it was like I was letting my mom go.
Right, and this is such a common phenomenon. Alice Miller talks about this in her book, Prisoners of Childhood Trauma of a Gifted Child, or is it drama? I forget. I think it's drama, but it's a trauma when mother puts herself before baby and the child is kind of like a parentified adult, and now he has to take care of mommy's feelings instead of vice versa. So now here you are doing what I call a what the Freud, a WTF. Okay, so you're repeating a pattern whereby now you're taking care of her feelings again, which is a replica of you're taking care of your mother's feelings. But guess who's not being emotionally fed here?
Right, me.
Right. And
Me.
so the hole in
And
the soul continues to grow, which is why I'm so glad that you're doing all this work,
Absolutely.
reading, meetings, meditating, learning, growing, setting boundaries. I mean, you have really brought it on. And I don't think that this journey can be stopped now because you're so wonderfully aggressive about it.
Unfortunately,
and I mean the
yeah,
wonderfully.
Yeah,
Yes.
you've opened Pandora's box.
Correct.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube now.
Correct.
and here's the one thing, two things actually, Dr. Judy. One is when these relationships would turn intimate, if you know what I mean, I would feel actually very guilty breaking up later, because I felt like I did something wrong but again, it was a mutual thing, so there's nothing for me to feel guilty about. I mean, you know, in our society, it's very normal to have a physical relationship and then people break up and whatever, right?
Right.
But for me, once that
Normal,
happened,
but
I
not
felt like
necessarily.
I owed them some. Yeah, I feel like I now owed them. And the borderline women were very quick to say to me, "You're going to leave me after I let after I let you blank blank
Yes.
and that would suck me right back in."
Yes. And they're also what they're saying is, oh my God, I have bonded with you now, and to be left now is excruciatingly painful. So that's why, especially with these kinds of disorders, casual sex is not casual, and casual sex is not something that I would even say is a healthy thing, because especially in these cases, they're opening up their mind, body, soul, right, to another human being, but they can't really handle it because it's not integrated. They're filling this hole in the soul, and it puts it in a completely different ballpark. And now you see, it's not just having sex. It's opening them up. It's the vulnerability. And now here you are left with this bag of guilt. And okay, so if they're not well, then how come, and we all have free choice, and I want to emphasize this, so how come they're not standing up and saying, okay, maybe I have a little part in this, and so therefore I'm going to get some help. See, because if any one of these women stood up and said that, then maybe you guys would still be together, and maybe they'd get the proper help, the core work.
Yeah. Right. And I'll say one more thing, Dr. Judy, because we've been talking about the healing part now. I'm very religious. I put a lot of faith in God. And the other three women, I didn't marry them. This one I did, the fourth one.
Okay.
And maybe I had to marry this one because I had to hit rock bottom, so that I could finally heal the wound. Well, see the wounds, heal the wounds, and at the age of 33, finally get better with your help and everyone's help, and just finally live an emotionally healthy life.
And I definitely think a good read for you is Alice Miller's book, Drama of the Gifted Child, Prisoners of Childhood, because it talks about the guilt and the shame and the false self that builds up around this. And I think it's just going to shine some more truth light on the matter for you. Clearly, you also have been wounded by your primary caregivers, so now the work is for you to get better and for you to express all the repressed feelings about taking care of a mother who should have been taking care of you, and really to clean that out of your system so that you don't need to go through this exercise of filling your hole in the soul with somebody who's quickly going to jump in there and say, I love you, because now that can be taken care of by your work. The healing part of it. You don't need that person to heal it for you.
And I've just learned so much. I mean, now I know my self-worth belongs to me.
Right.
I don't need anyone to validate me. I don't need to do anything. Like getting married, for example. It was so much pressure to get married that I did it. And going forward now, I can live my life the way I feel is best. I don't need anyone to validate me.
Yes.
And you will be attracting somebody entirely different than you ever had before.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
And that's the thing, Walt. I don't even know how to, yet. I've never been with a healthy woman. I have no idea what that's even about, being with a healthy woman.
So I just wanted to say, because I know we're short on time, how do you feel about being the healthy man first before you bring in a healthy woman? What do you think about that?
Well, it's very important.
Okay.
Very, very important. I need to heal these core wounds, and that'll take time. I need to keep educating myself, keep talking to the counselor, and talking to you, and doing the things I need to do to become emotionally healthy, so that down the road, again, the age, it doesn't matter whether I'm 32, 35, or 40. The number doesn't matter. The age is just a number. When I'm emotionally healthy, then I can attract an emotionally healthy woman.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, some people say that, their other half completes them, and it's probably not true. It's more you want somebody who complements you in terms of what, the two of you are. But, yeah, I don't, a lot of relationships, well, they complete me. I have a hole in my soul, and they're going to fill in that hole and make me complete. And,
just in all fairness, this is the human race. We're not going to ever be perfect, so we don't have to put some sort of a cooker timer on and say, oh, I'm whole and complete now, okay? Like, I don't know anybody that's all that perfectly whole and complete. So the main thing, other than doing the work on yourself, is to be able to self-reflect and self-correct. So even if you're not perfect and your partner is not perfect, if they're able to own their own stuff, if they're able to take responsibility and keep growing, that is a good match. Doesn't have to be a perfect match, but the people involved interested in growth is a good match in the way I see things. And by the way, for those of you who've been asking me for the Peaceful Healing Dialogue, it is up on my website, and you can access it there under the forms section and download it. And
it's actually linked.
You'll never lose it.
That's right. You can. It's linked to drjudywtf.com.
And
in the form section, in Peaceful Healing Dialogue. It's a nice one-pager that really helps keep you focused, a system and on track of having a difficult, challenging discussion with somebody.
And if you ever come to the point where you're able to talk to your wife, then do read the Peaceful Healing Dialogue. It may not work because she may be just too out of control, but do talk that way. And by the way, I know we're just about, are we out of time?
We've got about 7 minutes or so.
Okay, but I have to shrink we're doing the shrink the tune.
Yeah, so we got 7 minutes. Yeah,
okay, so do you have any questions about your process, or any questions that I can answer for you about where to go from here, or any questions about how things have really blueprinted in your life?
Well, Dr. Judy, it's very clear. A lot of things make a lot of sense, and many things are making sense now.
Okay.
The shame I felt, the codependency, guilt, obligation. I can see it now. I can see where it all fits in.
Yes.
And I'll be very honest with you, Dr. Judy. I'm feeling pretty positive compared to 6 months ago.
That's beautiful.
Pretty positive.
Yeah, and you've worked really hard.
It shows. I mean, you've paid the price. What we all say here is you're not really responsible for the first part of your life, chapter 1. It really doesn't matter how we start. It really matters, Nick, how we finish chapter 2, the second part. And that's exactly what you're doing.
And, I wanted to suggest, because maybe in a few months' time, to come on back to the show.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
And do a quick follow-up.
Sure.
And we want to know how you're doing, how your wife is doing, and how you either resolved or didn't resolve, or at least created something that was going to be as empathic and as kind and humane as possible. So with your permission, like to invite you back.
Sure. So what I'll do, Dr. Judy, is I'm gonna take the next steps as we just discussed in this program, and I'll kind of keep you up to date on the email as to where I'm headed with this, and once I have gone through with what I know I need to do, because it's very clear to me, then I'll be happy to come back on and we can all discuss kind of where we're going from there.
Okay, I love it, and I really appreciate your sharing what you've shared. A lot of people are going to take this in and think about things, and we'll be talking again. So thank you so very much.
Keep listening, and thanks for being a fan of our show, and tell everyone you can about us, because we're here to help and make an impact.
Sure. And one last thing I'd like to say for any of the men.
We got a few minutes. We're good.
Just real quick is don't be embarrassed. You just talk to Dr. Judy if you have any issues, and because it really helped me, and I know it can help you too.
Thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate it. And for those of you who are long distance, I do teletherapy and Skype therapy, and it is effective. I thought at the beginning, I'm going to lose out so much. But because the system is so clear and concise, because we can get on the same mind map immediately, and because we can put the pieces together in such a logical way, I haven't found that the teletherapy or the Skype therapy really hinders. So for those of you who do want to reach out, I just want to say one more thing. I have other staff members on the team, and we try to help everyone. So we have everyone from me doing the therapy to people on sliding scale fee structures.
Being supervised by you.
Yeah, and they're all trained in the mind map system. So don't let budget money stop you. We really, really make a best effort to take care of people.
And the number of therapists
Psychological Healing Center.
joining the Psychological Healing Center is growing.
Yeah, it really is. It's been fun supervising everyone. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Judy. And like I said, I'll be out your way sometime this year, and we'll definitely set up a meeting.
Absolutely.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
Love to meet
awesome.
you.
Super.
Thank you.
Sure.
So have a blessed
Thank
night, and Nick, thanks so much for being part of the show, and keep us posted.
Sure. Thank you. Take care.
God bless.
Thank you. Take care.
Well, folks, that is the second part of our two-part series here for Nick at Night, dealing with a BPD, borderline personality disorder, in real life, and they're a handful.
So what's coming up next is a very interesting episode we're going to have next week. And I have found in my practice that there are many people who are in the film industry suffer greatly because the film industry is very hard on the ego, and they, kind of sometimes chew you up and spit you out, if you will. And so next week we're going to have a very, very wonderful guest on. Her name is Martha Madison.
She's going to be in studio.
She is a soap star, soap opera, soap opera star, amazing
Days
woman.
of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives, Martha Madison, Days of Our Lives, and she's going to be talking about the industry and her experience with the industry, and we're going to be talking about narcissism, which is seemingly a favorite topic, and narcissism and the industry, and how to survive and how to cope and make sure that you're not being vampired by the industry, and what to do if you're a creative person who loves to act, loves to direct, loves to be in this field, but is just really suffering. So stay tuned. Next week we're
definitely going to
dive right in,
give you
Yeah.
the WTF scoop of
Absolutely.
Hollywood from
Right.
someone who's on the inside and is young enough to have survived it.
Yes, she is, and succeeding at
Absolutely,
it. Yes.
she is. So stay tuned, and we've got more coming, folks. And it is now time for us to shrink that tune, where we take a popular song or any song. If you want to put a request in, you can write us at info@drjudywtf.com. And I'm going to read the lyrics of a song here, and then Dr. Judy's going to interpret it from her perspective, and of course the mind map. And then we're going to close out the show with the song. So this one's called "Play Dead" by Bjork, and it starts out, "Darling, stop confusing me with your wishful thinking, hopeful embraces. Don't you understand?"
Okay, so I'm going to interpret it through the eyes of the borderline dynamics, and how it is for a borderline to be in any kind of relationship, and the dynamics of the relationship is very confusing, and there's a sense of we don't know who's thinking what, and hopeful embraces, and really wanting to be understood and held and contained, but really not knowing what's up.
I have to go through this. I belong to here where no one cares and no one loves.
Okay, so there's this presumption, this core belief that no one loves me. I am not lovable.
There you go.
And
There's
so
the core belief.
there's the hole in the soul. No one cares, no one loves, but yet they have to go through this because they do want to belong, after all.
No light, no air to live in, a place called hate, the city of fear.
And that's the darkness, the double dungeon, as I call it. There's no air in there, there's no light in there, and there's no love there because there's really no one to turn to, and that creates a sense of fear.
So I play dead. It stops the hurting. I play dead, and the hurting stops.
So the dead is cutting off your feelings, okay? And that's the narcissistic defense, is when instead of feeling, you cut the empathy cord, and now you're just dead, and you're going through life, and nothing registers, but it stops the hurting temporarily, but
Yeah, it does.
it doesn't really solve that problem, does it?
It's sometimes just like sleeping, curling up inside my private tortures. I nestle into pain, hug suffering, caress every ache.
Okay, so this
Man.
person, wow, I'm telling you, this person is truly trying to curl up and protect the inner core. But as we've spoken about, the inner needs to have all that emotional nurturance to exist. So there's not a lot of core there within the person, and they're really in torturous pain.
Yeah, they
so they
are.
weren't successful at cutting off the pain, were they?
No, not curling up inside my private tortures. I mean, they can't escape it unless they sleep. And then last, I play dead. It stops the hurting.
Temporarily.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Right. So that's our song, and that's our show. So we appreciate you listening, staying tuned,
Yep.
and all
Thank you very much.
communications you're sending to info@drjudywtf. Again, you can hear us on Stitcher and iTunes, or here at ubnradio.com. I am your host, Walt Lusk. Next week, we're going to have another song, which is going to be another Dr. Judy WTF exclusive. It's a song that's never been heard before.
And don't we have
Like we
a
did last week.
Facebook? We have a Facebook page,
And you
right?
can like
Tell
us on
people
Facebook.
that.
Yeah, we do. You can like us on Facebook, and we're getting more likes, which is, of course, Dr. Judy WTF on Facebook. And we're also on Twitter, so you can send us tweets as well at Dr. Judy WTF as well. So we're out there. And, of course, the website is drjudywtf.com. So we're pretty consistent there.
Right.
So thanks for listening, folks. And until next time, God bless.
Thank you for listening.